So we're just about to finish off our statement of values, and we have two more statements to go. So number 9, a happy society encourages healthy relationships with particular emphasis on supporting families and community, however defined. Heart will rule all relationships. So I think it's pretty obvious that if you think about it, heart has not ruled all relationships by any means. Traditionally, like take marriage, men have ruled relationships. Of course, sometimes there's variation. Sometimes the woman is very strong or whatever. But in general, marriage has been defined mostly by male values. And specifically, like if we look fairly recently in Western countries, say, where women have more freedom, marriage has been ruled by the law. There are many, many laws, and marriage is in many ways a financial relationship. There were quite a lot of rules. So of course things have been liberated a lot. Things have gotten a lot more free. And especially like in the last, say, 10 years, there's been a huge move towards freedom to be able to accept people as they are and to allow no-fault divorce, which, yes, it's good. You have to have a no-fault divorce, but it's really having a very major dampening effect on marriage. So a lot of people are just choosing not to get married. And this is because we're coming out of an era where power has been very unequally distributed. So sometimes all people can do is leave a relationship. And then you still have to face financial barriers to doing that. So we haven't really been able to focus mostly on what's in our hearts, but relationships can't work if you don't go deeply enough that you can be committed from your heart to somebody. That's the only way that you can really work through stuff in a relationship. And in fact, you can't really work through stuff in a relationship if you haven't already, to some extent, worked through your own issues. So many, many people, most of us, have some emotional blocks from our childhood or the things that we've experienced in life. And we need to work through these and overcome them before we can really easily expect to have healthy relationships. And I think it'll take a long time before, that we're generally in that situation. But meanwhile, we as a society in America are really starting to face the things that have divided us. Racism, right? Poverty. There are many things that have divided us. So we need to work on those, and we need to keep our freedoms to work on those. We cannot go backwards. Project 2025 would take us backwards, would reinstate the societal things that cause us to be homophobic, right? It doesn't mean that we are automatically encouraging all these alternative lifestyles. What it means is that we are giving people the freedom to choose to live a certain way without, being in danger from prejudice or hatred, and to make their own decision about why they are living in a certain way. There's nothing wrong with that. We have to allow people to be themselves and to choose what is themselves, to make their own decisions. It doesn't necessarily mean that we think everything that everybody is doing is right. But if you allow people to grow at their own pace or to make their own choices, then that is the best way that people will be able to live directly from their own hearts, from the deepest part of their own selves. So that's really where we're trying to go with this, okay? So we need a certain level of psychological growth, and we need a certain patience and encouragement for each other as we all go through that. So, yeah, don't rush into relationships. Don't get stuck in relationships. But even more, try to bring in as wide a community as possible. If you find that in your relationship you're being isolated from the wider community, that is probably a problem. There's probably something going on that is causing that. So try to talk it out if you can. Don't try not to get into situations where you feel you're in danger, because that does happen. But accept that the goal is to have good relationships with many people in the community, probably before you can really be successful in a relationship with a single person. But, we're all in this together, we're all trying, we'll all get there. Okay? And then the last value in my list of values: violence is always the wrong way to proceed, except as a last resort to protect against a violent attack in progress, where all else has been tried. The world must undertake a process of disarmament on every level. Okay, this doesn't mean, it doesn't mean like, say, the world Western nations suddenly disarm, because that's the right thing. Yes, disarmament is the right thing, but you have to be a little wise. You can't disarm certain nations and leave others heavily armed. So we have to have gradual disarmament. Let's start with nuclear weapons. Let's really decrease the number of nuclear weapons that exist. What's the point of having, 1,000 nuclear weapons, any one of which could wipe out a whole city or even country? There's no point. Right? So let's immediately start with decreasing the number. It's going to be difficult unless we can see that the era of control by autocratic rulers is coming to an end. And that's really up to all of us, to all of the people. And that's part of what Project 2045 is actually aiming at. So yes, we the people are the ones who can drive disarmament. But as I said, you have to be able to respond to a violent attack. So you have to be wise about how you disarm. And the wisest thing that I've heard actually came from Marianne Williamson, who was a candidate for president on the Democratic side. She suggests that we have a Department of Peace. Right? So we always have a Department of Defense, but let's be proactive and make a Department of Peace. And peace between nations should definitely really involve a lot of women, because traditionally we all know that men are the ones who want to win and want to fight. And women are much less violent. Just look at, all the mass shootings in America. Probably about 98% of them, well, 99% of them are done by men. So women should be very heavily involved. I'm sure that women from America and Iran could sit together and work stuff out without any problem. But what I said about mass shootings then brings in another side of violence, which is everybody running around with guns all the time, which is America. Right? America has a huge gun problem. So we have to be able to resolve that. We have to stop people having automatic guns. We have to just accept that there's no reason to have them. If you want them, you can have them in certain situations and then go pick them up, say when you want to go into shooting practice with your automatic gun for some reason, and then use it there, and then give it back in when you leave the facility. Right? I don't think the people need automatic guns, and if none of us can have them, then that would be much safer. I know that we're a little worried about the government in this country, but you know, Project 2045 is saying, hey, we are the government. So yeah, right now it seems difficult, but we've had such a huge buildup of guns in this country. That is going to be reversed gradually. Has to be. So yeah, let's have a Department of Peace. Let's do that. Okay, thank you.